Dopamine builds your map of reality. Spill it too often and your map gets smaller and smaller. And one of the key enemies of dopamine has to be prolactin. So this was recorded in the Neuro report in 2001, where men had a 400% increase in prolactin immediately after orgasm. Now, this directly suppresses dopamine release, which may explain the post-nut syndrome we all have, well, I wouldn't say a fondness for, but certainly a familiarity with. A lot of people do demonize it for this particular reason. But prolactin is actually neuroprotective in the sense that the reason we have it is because it inhibits us going again and again and again and again and again until we are a costume of a man and, well, kill ourselves, kill our nervous system. But more specifically in this video here, prolactin is nicknamed the dopamine killer in neuroendocrinology. Georgia Diz and Krinkelbach. Orgasm strongly activates dopamine pathways in the nucleus albumens, followed by shutdown and reduce activity. But the most insipid part for me is the Hilton and Watts socio-affective psychology study, which showed that it actually down-regulates your D2 dopamine receptors, similar to drug addiction pathways. So this is the combination of adult material use and frequent ejaculation. This is a synaptic cleft here. So you have an electrical signal that runs towards the northwards of this picture. And then when it gets to the cleft, it turns from electrical into chemical, so electrochemical. The chemicals in here is where dopamine is experienced in your consciousness. And the receptors between these clefts get so insensitive to dopamine, to the fact that you aren't, the receptor isn't binding, the dopamine isn't binding with the receptor, and therefore you are not experiencing as much of the benefits of dopamine as you prior were without this abnormal stimulus. And this may lead to internal narratives such as nothing ever happens for me. I can't seem to catch a break. Why does everything happen for everybody else but not for me? The neurologically unlucky, you might self-describe yourself. So it's really fascinating. You can start to see how your neurological brain damage, because this is what you, or what I was doing, you might still be doing, hopefully you're not still doing, is going to lead to these neurotic thoughts, which then leads to these self-fulfilling prophecies. So the biochemical affects the psychological or psychic, which in turn, it influences your reality. In 1957, Leon Festinger coined cognitive dissonance. I'm sure this is a phenomenon that you have at least heard before, but essentially it's the mental discomfort we feel when our actions and belief or self-image clash. And I have said in the past that the combination of PMO, pornography, masturbation, orgasm, creates a kind of cognitive dissonance. I don't think this would be untrue, but I think it's more accurate to say, coined by Big Daddy Joseph in 2025, it's more of a biological dissonance in the fact that we feel discomfort biologically when our biological imperatives or functions clash with modern tropes, such as adult material. In essence, what I'm trying to convey to you is that adult material conditions the body to believe that we have procreated. But in truth, no life was created, no child, no legacy, no future. Just pixels on a glowing rectangle. The body celebrates a victory that never happened, and you, the man, are left the empty aftermath of a false reward. So a biological dissonance, but also you can see that there are going to be psychological ramifications on this. Now, in many ways, this creates your reality. There's two particular perspectives you can kind of view this from. The spiritual perspective might be karmic debt. What is essentially happening here is a form of karmic debt. Now, if you don't like the word karma, you can call it the cause, I think it's called the cosmological argument, the causality argument, which is essentially this idea that everything has an equal and opposite reaction, okay? You there's only so much pleasure you can kind of render from this 3D reality. And if you are constantly just destroying your neurology on a daily basis, maybe multiple times in a daily basis with hyper stimuli that makes your synaptic clefts no longer sensitive to the molecule of dopamine, then yes, your life is going to run this narrative where everything is grey and dull and almost meaningless. You become a nihilist and you become very, very cynical of life, 100%. I think that is, a very spiritual perspective. But also, there's the neurochemical and psychological one that is influenced by the aforementioned points. All your bad luck, your or lacking of opportunities and zero prospect is really just a chemical equation that needs rebalancing. And in turn, your cum will get lighter, opportunities will flow your way, life will be brighter, colors will be more vibrant. That's not a theory, that's a fact. Speak soon.